We've been talking about IP tables, and really at the heart of older versions of Linux is IP tables. But with Ubuntu systems, they've actually got a system that overlays on top of IP tables. And that is something called UFW, or Uncomplicated Firewall. And what it is kind of a wrapper, I guess you could think about it, over the top of IP tables. So with UFW, I can do very simple things. I can do something like enable, and I can also disable. Let me just re-enable it here, and then we can get a system status. So if I were to say UFW status verbose, I would get the status of it, including some rules that were in place. Now, I want to talk about how to actually create rules. So I can say UFW, and this is much easier than IP tables. I just want to allow port 80 TCP. Now we can go back to status, and suddenly we've got a rule there, both for IPv4 and IPv6, as a matter of fact. The other thing that I can do is I can say UFW, and we're going to deny, let's say 8080 on TCP. So now we've got our rule. Again, I've got my status, and I can show that. The other thing that I can do is reverse the rule, and I can re-enable 8080. Perhaps it's just easier to say UFW delete, deny 8080 TCP. Now, if I check my status, the rule is entirely gone. So as a matter of fact, I want to, at this point, remove that rule as well, and I can check that. The other thing that I can do is say allow SSH. Now, if I check the status, we have allowed port 22 because, of course, that's the SSH port. What happens here is it actually looks up the name of the service from the etc services file and then just puts the correct port in place for us. So you don't even have to know the port necessarily. You just enable the service name, and UFW figures out the port for you and puts it into the rule set automatically. UFW makes it so much easier to be administering your firewall that IP tables almost becomes obsolete just by using UFW on an Ubuntu system. You don't have to worry about the complicated rules that you are using with IP tables. If you're just doing simple things like enabling and disabling services, you can do it with UFW really, really easily.